Hello, thank you for watching my channel today. My name's Sarah and my channel is called Your True Shelf. And today I just thought I'd do like a little catch-up video. So it's not a wrap-up because I've already read 6 books in up to the middle of June. So I just figured I'll do a separate wrap-up. This is just really to talk about the few books that I've hauled since the last haul, and also like what I'm currently reading, because I'm in the middle of quite a lot of stuff and I feel like I'm in a bit of a headspace to tackle that right now. So some of these books I've been reading for a really long time, dipping in and out, and I haven't really wanted to go back to them in between other books, but at the moment I just sort of felt like actually I feel like in the mood to sort of dip in and out a little bit and get some of them ticked off. So I'll start with what I'm reading now. So I'll go through them. The first one is this one, which is by Philippa, and it's the book you wish your parents had read and your children will be glad that you did. A really catchy title. So this one I am, how far through am I? Yeah, I'd say I'm just over halfway through this one, and so far I'm not finding it like groundbreaking, but I'm finding certain sections of it really useful. Like the section I'm reading now is about like pregnancy and attachment with babies, which I kind of feel like that's not that helpful because I've done that now. But the section on feelings was really useful, and talking about how to, when a kid is like acting out or really crying or really upset, about how to like help them explain how they're feeling and stuff like that. So that was really helpful. And there's also sections about like our own childhoods and how they impact on how we react to certain things. So I'm finding it helpful. It's kind of echoes other parenting books I've read, but I heard Philippa interviewed on the radio and thought that she was brilliant, so that's why I bought this book in the first place. I think whatever however good we think we are as parents, I think there's always stuff we can learn, and so I don't think I think people should be buying parenting books and reading them, because it's not like saying you don't know what you're doing, because we're all winging it. None of us came with a fully loaded instruction manual, but I just think these are really helpful to get some tips and to reassure you about some things that you're doing well as well. So that's the first one. So I just don't want to kind of sit and read the whole thing in one go, so I just sort of dip in and out. The next one I'm doing that with, I've nearly finished. This is Our Women on the Ground, Arab Women Reporting from the Arab World, edited by Zahra Hankir. So this book is what it says on the tin really. It's all written by Arabic women journalists, and it's set in, a lot of it's around the Arab Spring, but it's all about kind of the wars, the devastation, day-to-day life in these countries as a woman journalist, especially not only as a journalist but like being a woman who's a journalist. The reason why I haven't read this more quickly is because it's really difficult to read. There's like a lot of trauma in this book, and the women are remarkable women, but to read those difficult stories one after the other is quite traumatic. And that might sound really wimpy considering that these women are actually living these lives, not just reading about them, but I wanted to also give each piece like the time it deserves and not kind of read all of them in one go. So I've got, what have I got left for this one? Got about 65 pages of that one to go, so not very much. Then I am reading this beautiful book, The Wild Remedy by Emma Mitchell. So this book is a nature diary centred around Emma Mitchell's mental health and how each season and each month changes with her mental health, like how she finds the months where there's least to see in the natural world very difficult. She suffers with like severe depression, and then the other months where they're in springtime and summer, when there's lots of beautiful flowers and plants and stuff, and blossoms and things like that, and she finds it lifts her a lot. And she intersperses this with lovely drawings, or like illustrations. So there's some watercolour, and there's like pen and ink drawings, and also these lovely sort of photography spreads as well. So it's a really beautiful book. Really enjoying it. It started in September, so I started reading it in September, or October actually maybe, and I just read like a month every month, so I'm up to date with this one. I've read the June section this morning, but I just wanted to, just even the cover, isn't it just beautiful? It's lovely. So yeah, this one I'd really recommend. And then another similar book, similar but different, is another month by month book, and that is My Garden World by Monty Don. This works, Monty Don, lovely guy. If you're not from the UK, there's a programme on every week called Gardener's World, hosted by Monty Don, and he's written lots of books about gardens and stuff, and gardening, and this is another nature diary. So this is a month by month one which starts in January, and it's a series of vignettes about all different things that happen each month. So the different birds, the different animals, the different plants. I got a bit behind with this one, so I've just finished April, so I've got to read May's and June still. This one I'm enjoying, but I'm never kind of like, oh, I can't wait to read the next section. I think maybe because I've got a little bit behind, it's a bit of a shame, because when you read it contemporaneously, you can notice some of the stuff that he talks about. You actually see those things, and that's really good when you look out for those things. But I am enjoying it, but it's probably kind of like a 3-star at the moment for me. So that's all the things I'm sort of, no, one more, there's one more. Tell a lie, I started another book this morning, and I was fully intending on reading this all the way through, but all of the reviews that I've read that have loved it said don't read it all in one go, read it piece at a time, because you need to savour it. And what I've read so far, I absolutely love it. So the book is this one, which is Encounters with Plants, Stars and Animals by... No, it's not. That's their subtitle. It's not called that at all. It's called Things That Are by Amy Leach. And it's 26 essays on different things from nature, but they're nothing like essays I've read before. Like, they're completely magical. So she has this really kind of whimsical, magical way of writing, which has like really blown me away. I think it's a Marmite book, because when I looked on Goodreads, there's a lot of 5 stars and a lot of 1 stars. So it's either like for you or it's not for you. But reading it, it's just enchanting. It's just so, so beautiful. I don't know if I can find a little section. Let me see. Okay, this is just a little sec. I'm just going to read this paragraph. I'm not saying this is the best paragraph. This is just an example. This is a chapter about goats. So it says, sometimes it avails to be a goat. When the grass withers away in Morocco, sheep will stumble dully along, thinking horizontal thoughts. No grass, no grass. But goats look up, start climbing trees. Even with 15 goats in its crooked knobbly arms, lunching on its suspended fruit, the argan tree is trusty, for its roots are deep clenched in the earth. It does not wait for mercy to fall from heaven. When the sky is dry, the tree fathoms the earth, stabbing its roots down until they discover buried rain, brimstone pools undreamt of by the grass lying vegetably on the surface. The argan tree drinks, while the grass waits. Grass waits for water like sheep wait for grass. It's just really beautiful. Yeah, so the first chapter was about beavers and salmon, and then the second chapter is about goats. And I just really wanted to keep going. I didn't want to stop. But this was a present for my friend Hannah, so this is extra good that I love it so much. So there are all the things that I'm in the middle of. So there's a lot of nature writing there. There's actually no fiction there at all, is there? So I will be obviously reading some fiction as well. I'm listening to some fiction. So I'm listening to Howard's End by E.M.Forster. Absolutely loving it. So good. The reason I wanted to read it in the first place was because I think about 3 years ago there was a BBC adaptation of Howard's End, which I loved. So I can picture all the characters in my head as well from the actors that played them at the time. And it's just so good. It's set before World War One, and it's set about 2 families, like the Schlegel family, who there's two sisters and a brother who are all sort of grown up, and their parents have died, and they're sort of surviving as a unit on their own. And the Wilcox family, led by a very strong man who is quite domineering and very good in business, and they try, it's about like the kind of the social classes and the dilemmas around poverty, and how they I know that they're going to try and help a man who's poor, and it all goes a bit wrong, because they're sort of going about it in the wrong way. But it's not only is it sort of discussing those issues, it's very satirical, it's very funny. It's made me really chuckle quite a few times, and the narrator's really good as well, so I'm really enjoying that one. So moving on, I've got 3 books that I've hauled, 1 ebook and 2 physical books. So actually, I tell a lie, I've got a library book to tell you about, so I'm just going to run and get that. So the first book that I bought was inspired by Natalie Meryem, whose channel I absolutely adore. She's Australian and she has an amazing channel. I'll link it. If you don't follow her, go and follow her because she's awesome. She has made she makes a list that she has hanging on her wall of her favourite Australian books of all time, her top 50, and this book I think is either first or second place, and then it was also longlisted for a prize that she's currently reading the long list for, an Australian prize, but I can't remember the name of. So it kind of brought it back to my attention again, and I went and bought it because I just love the title and the cover and everything. This is The Rain Heron by Robbie Arnott. So this one sounds kind of magical realism book. It's about a girl called Wren. She lives alone, she farms the land, she hunts, she looks after herself, and she's self-sufficient. And one day a young woman who's quite cruel leads an army to where she lives to look for this mythical creature called the rain heron, which can control the weather. And Wren says it's just a story, it doesn't really exist, and it leads them on this sort of quest. And I just think the cover is so gorgeous. I love it so much. And everyone speaks really highly of Robbie Arnott. I know he's got another book called Flames, which if I love this one as much as I think I will, then I'm going to obviously buy that one. But yeah, so that's the first one. The second one I got I did want to read it anyway, but I got for the Reading Women's Challenge. So one of the prompts is to read a fantasy by an Asian author, and I have The Poppy War by R.F. Kuang. This is the first in, I believe, a trilogy, and it's a fantasy book. So I'm sure I've said recently that I've really wanted to get into fantasy for some time, because several of my favourite booktubers really like fantasy, and they often talk about books and say how much they love them. I've never really read any fantasy. I think the closest I've got is The Hunger Games, which I absolutely loved. So yeah, this is a fantasy book. I think it wasn't in the YA section actually, it was in the adult section in Waterstones. So it's about a girl called Rin. So we've had Ren and now we've got Rin. She has passed a really difficult exam to get into military school, and she is a peasant girl, so she's facing quite a lot of prejudice against the other people who have got in, but she is she's found to have like a gift as a shaman. So yeah, it sounds like really good. Really interested and can't wait to read that one. The next one I got for the Reading Women's Challenge is I got this from the library. It was for the prompt a crime or thriller in translation. So I got Why Did You Lie? I'm going to try and say her name, by Yrsa Sigurdardottir. Sigurdardottir. This is translated from Icelandic by Victoria Cribb, so female author and female translator, which is good. So this is a thriller. So I think it's about a journalist who is trying to commit suicide, and yeah, he's on the track of an old case and he attempts suicide, An ordinary couple return from a house swap in the States to find their home in disarray and their guests seemingly missing. 4 strangers struggle to find shelter on a windswept spike of rock in the middle of a raging sea. They have one thing in common: they all lied, and someone is determined to punish them. So yeah, I'm not a massive thriller reader, but I have heard good things about this writer, and so this, like, so that's why I like this reading challenge so much, because it pushes your boundaries of what you normally read. And then the final book, which is the ebook, which is for another prompt from the Reading Women's Challenge, which was to read an Arab author in translation. For that, I chose Straight from the Horse's Mouth by Meryem, Alaoui, and translated by Emma Ramadan. So this is a book set in Morocco, and this follows 2 sex workers. The main character, who is basically trying to provide for her daughter after her husband left, and she's very street smart, very witty, very kind of fun to read about her, alongside obviously the work that she's doing, and she rooms with another girl who is also a sex worker, but she is quite religious, and she reads the Quran in between her clients. And then I think that a female filmmaker comes to our main character to try and get her to look through a script for authenticity, but then she ends up casting her in the lead role, and it sort of changes her life. And she also has to lie to her family about what she's actually doing for work as well. So it sounded, it's a debut. It sounded really good. I'm looking forward to giving that a read and seeing. And I'm also going to make some progress on my Reading Women's Challenge, which is great. So that was I suppose I've forgotten about my cup of tea. That was my wrap up. No, it wasn't. That wasn't my wrap up. That was my currently reading and recent hauls of June. Let me know your thoughts on these books, or just come and say hello, or give me any kind of nice comment, because I love hearing from everybody. And I hope you have a good week, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye.